Hey, it's Seto Kaiba, and you're watching Anime Egotists. I don't know why. These guys don't know how to duel, unless they learned from Yugi, who cheats, or maybe Joey, who's a dog. Oh, why don't you have some more jelly donuts, like Brock, and maybe you'll get better. Not. Oh, and I play my Blue Eyes White Dragon and kick your butts.
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where neither of us really want to eat the egg witches.
No, that we don't.
None of them sound good, especially grilled tongue. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Anyways, my name's Alex, and I finally know how to rush duels, so I can officially say get ready for the rush. I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, I still don't know. I know that it's in Duel Links now because I finally logged in after so much a long time. So, and I'm Richard.
That's correct. And guys, we love talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And you guys seem to love us talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Why? I'm still not entirely sure. But we also love certain deck types and archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, and yes, we've gone over this topic before, but there are a ton of archetypes and different decks and stuff that we just really wanted to talk about again.
Yeah. And some of you, and yeah, Richard and I are kind of the mindset of, no, we don't really need a certain archetype. We can just duel with the cards we like. But still fun to think, what specific types of decks are we going to be doing? Are we going to be liking? And who knows, maybe we'll do our least favorite archetypes. I could probably pull that off, but just a sequel to our favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks and archetypes.
Exactly.
Would you like to start us off?
Sure. So, this is one that at first I just found because of the character more annoying, but then as I've grown, I've come to like this character more, and as a result, I like their deck a lot more. The Ancient Gear cards from Dr. Crowler.
Agreed.
These, it just seemed like the generic, like overpowered deck that wasn't actually going to win anything. And I don't know if I remember Dr. Crowler winning too many duels, but when you look at them, they're kind of an interesting deck because they actually do have some interesting combos that you can play that let you get out the Ancient Gear Golem, Ancient Gear Knights, and all that, and just they actually have a lot of support, especially for when they came out. There were a lot of unique Ancient Gear cards, so it was kind of one of those first ones that got a lot of support just for themselves, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's especially cool considering when they attack, they block trap cards, which back then was flipping huge. And especially since it's one of the first decks you see in GX, it makes it all the more interesting just to see, especially just how far it's come.
Yeah, I remember because I built several different machine decks and Duel Links. I do have at least one Ancient Gear deck that has all these cards. It wasn't my most competitive or anything, but it was a lot of fun to use just because of the support it had in and of itself.
Yeah, especially somebody as over the top as Crowler having cool monsters like this always was interesting to me.
Yeah, I think looking back on it, I've just seen so many people end up using more cutesy cards in the more recent series, I think, than I just felt like having someone over the top but still have such an interesting archetype was a really nice kind of combination.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can't agree with you on the first part though, because I always loved Crowler. Crowler cracked me up.
I just found him so out there to start, and then I've grown to like him more. It was just again I was falling out of favor with Yu-Gi-Oh when GX was starting to premiere, so that's probably part of it as well. It's just this guy's really out there. Okay, I'm gonna just stay out of this series.
Yeah, but I can co-sign. I really did I love the Ancient Gear monsters.
Yeah. So all right, your first one.
I'm gonna get trashed for this, but I don't care. The Guardian monsters.
Okay,
Yeah, Guardian Monsters or Raphael's deck from season 4. Look, as much as we clown season 4 for a bit, I did like Raphael's connection with these cards in the sense of, despite being a bad guy, he did legitimately care about these cards, especially how most of them are connected to different types of weapons and equipped spells. It was always just interesting to see, especially. I understand they're not the most competitive nowadays, or I don't know if they ever were now that I start to think about it, but I don't know, just each card having a connection with a different type of spell, hell, and just showing that they all kind of play off of each other in a sense. I don't know. Out of all of the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh, it always kind of felt like these were the cards that that actually felt like a family, as just compared to just regular monsters, like who rarely seem to interact.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that I can kind of agree to that I felt they were more connected than a lot of the other decks that we see in this, especially in the original series, where you just kind of played whatever you felt like. You had you had the Dark Magician, the Toon deck, and all that you saw, but this is the first one that most of the cards, if not all, had something to do with Guardian, so that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck, when I was a kid, I thought it would be cool if Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress, had something to do with it, but it did not. No.
Yeah, and I think Bandit Keith used there's a robot card that has Guardian that is now considered a Guardian card, but I think it started out in his deck. So
It's a possibility. I think I know what cards you're talking about, but so I can't tell you if you're right or wrong on that. So when I was going back and listening to our Yu-Gi-Oh! Dual Spirits card, I remember, I really like Fairy Guardian, but it has nothing to do with this archetype. But like you and I said, we both like to think it would be just because I like that card.
yeah, they're the like second cousins farther out. They're not fully related, but since they have Guardian, they're related.
Yeah, yeah. Want us to? It almost kind of reminds me of when we created our own Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypes, which if y'all want a sequel, just say so. We'll probably do it. But just, I don't know. They're not the most competitive, but I still really like the Guardian cards, whether they're full-on Guardians or just Guardians by name.
Yep, I can agree. I've used several of these in dueling, so I do enjoy using them on an occasion.
Yeah,
All right. So my next one.
please.
So I have the Armored Dragon cards.
Okay.
These were ones because I actually owned I think it's level 3 and level 5. I got in booster packs when I was a kid, and I didn't really fully understand how they worked. Because they were one of those gimmicks that weren't really shown off till the end of the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, and then used a little bit in GX, but the level cards never really got the same love as Fusion or uh, just one of all the other kind of styles of summoning. So, but I just like the design of this cute dragon that just keeps growing stronger pretty much every turn. You can keep it alive to make it this big boss monster in like 3 turns was always really cool to me.
Yeah. Especially just how much of a nuisance it was when Chaz used it against Jaden in GX. Not to mention, and I especially love how a lot of dragons use like fire and like mystical powers. The first few forms of this dragon, it will just punch you. I don't know. There's something about to me that like I kind of grew to like that as I got older.
Yeah, I when I saw Chaz using that's kind of another reason I like it. And I think if I remember correctly, doesn't he combine it with his Ojama cards later on?
Yeah, I think you're able to. Heck, there's even a version where you can combine it with, I want to say XYZ. So I'm like, holy, like, what the heck? So it's just an armed dragon catapult monster? Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly fine, don't you?
Yeah. Huh, that's another Yu-Gi-Oh video we could do. Monster fusions we'd like to see.
Yeah, that could be a really interesting one.
Yeah, it would take way too long, but still. Okay, I found it. Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon. It's V through Z Catapult Cannon and Armed Dragon level 7.
I'm sure it's probably actually a really overpowered card that is almost impossible to summon because you have to have so many pieces.
I there are times in Duel Links I've just let the duel play out until I'm able to summon it, and then I finally am able to summon it. Is it worth it? Not fully, but I admire them for trying. It's a cool card.
I need to give that one a shot if I can find it in the game.
Yeah. But the Armed Dragon, specifically for leveling up, because that's just such a cool concept. I can understand that.
Yeah, it seems like that one should have had more that would have let them be actually a good gimmick that should have been maybe more focused on in GX than it was.
Yeah. But to be fair, they were also it also how do I put this? It seems like the Ojamas kind of took over, and you could argue that was a little more instrumental for Chaz's development than the Armed Dragons were. Still, though.
Well, I meant you could have had a character whose whole gimmick was about getting out, like he's low level monsters, but then by the end of his turn, they're already getting stronger and stronger. Whether they're a bad guy or a like rival for Jaden or something.
There was one character in season 4 of GX who was focused on leveling up his dragon. That was his boss monster, but we only saw him like once or twice, so yeah.
Yeah. As I said, I like the gimmick, so that's kind of why I put this on here.
Okay.
All right. So your next one?
All right. The Crystal Beasts.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I'm starting off with 2 archetypes that nobody really likes all that much, but in all honesty, it's so cool to think that once they're destroyed, they go into the spell and trap card zone, and that's when their effects really start to kick in. It's also just cool how they all connect to this one Rainbow Dragon, which is a really powerful card if you know how to use it right. I don't know, there was just something about it that all these cards that were always interesting. Maybe it had to do with the fact that Jesse was able to talk to them in the anime, and like he said, he actually treated them like they were his family. So that was always interesting to me. I always appreciated how Jesse, out of everybody, really seemed to cherish them.
That's nice. I never got to Jesse's story arc in GX, but I've heard that it's actually really enjoyable when you get to him, and I never really had a problem with these cards. I just knowing how complicated it is to get out the rainbow dragon, I haven't really tried to actually summon it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. And I don't know. I especially love how he's able to talk to them, and they all have, I guess, celebrity voice impersonations. I don't know. It's super weird here because some of them are super odd because Amber Mammoth sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of they have a lot of weird voices attached to them, but I still find that to be kind of part of their charm, especially considering in his like I said, it also just helps that I like Jesse as much as I do, especially when he's like, "All right, Jaden, for our first duel, I'm gonna summon Rainbow Dragon," and he's about to looks like Jesse's about to win and summon Rainbow Dragon. He's like, "You'll never survive." Just kidding. I don't have that card yet, and then Jesse just loses.
Oh God, he sounds like a character, but he sounds like Jaden's perfect kind of equal when it comes to everything, which I think is what he's portrayed as.
Yeah, as one character said, he's Jaden with a southern accent.
Okay, I need
Yeah.
to catch up on this series again. I've got a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, but like I said, the Crystal Beasts, less for their playability and more just for their likability.
All right, I'll co-sign. All right, so my next one.
Please.
All right, so this one was one I always found a lot of fun as a kid, and I wish that it had as many powers as it did, but it would probably be really broken if they gave it every ability, and that's the Toon Monsters.
Yeah, okay.
Just because it's, from what I remember, it's like, okay, the Toon Monsters can only be attacked by other Toon Monsters or destroyed by other Toon Monsters. The Toon World card can only be, has like all these special abilities that it really doesn't have in the book or in the actual game.
Toon World's one and only effect in real life is just pay 1,000 life points. That's literally it.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember correctly, all the cards have like, if Toon World's in play with this card, then you get something, but it's still, it's one of those though. I found out that they've recently given it more support, so there's different things that you can play with it that are kind of interesting. Again, I don't know how actually competitive or anything with these cards are, but I just always liked them. I liked the whole turning your opponent's monsters against you, getting to see Blue Eyes White Dragon and Summon Skull as these little cartoon characters instead of these big giant anime monsters. It was just so much fun.
Imagine if they made another Yu-Gi-Oh game, but if you turn the monster into a toon monster, it actually found a way to turn it into like a chibi-like sprite. That would be amazing.
Yeah, it really would, because I mean, all the big monsters from that era have toon monsters. I think the Dark Magician Girl, Red Eyes Black Dragon. I think all have been
I was
given
about to
these
say
two.
you're literally listing all of them. You're 3 for 3 so far.
Yeah. So it, and I know like Barrel Dragon and stuff like that also has it. So it's gotten a lot of those original, like what I would consider the original monsters that were could be someone's ace, have a toon version now, which is hilarious, but also kind of frightening if they actually got superpowered abilities through it.
Exactly. Plus, I said in a video a couple weeks ago, it kind of just makes it all the more interesting that they're played by Pegasus, who's just a 10-year-old kid at heart, despite being probably a multi-billionaire at this point, based on all the stuff he's done for Duel Monsters.
Yeah, and we do know that his game changes the world for the better. Who knows? But
Uh,
we do know that the economy after he created this game turns to a children's card game is the only way to make a living in the world. So
I'd rather live there than here.
I can kind of understand that.
Yeah, but like I said, I loved with the Toon Monsters growing up, so I can definitely co-sign onto that.
Yeah, and since that being such a unique deck that I don't think anyone else has ever really used Toon Monsters in the anime, but
To be
since
fair, they do this thing where it's like, what? You have the same monsters I do? You have the same deck? You must have cheated and stolen it. It's just like, these are all cards you could probably buy in the store. What do you mean, Steve? Forget it.
yeah, I mean, I feel like everybody cheats because I know I have three Blue Eyes White Dragons. So how does anyone else have them?
Yeah, because that's how that works. Sure. Sure. And I say this for almost every Yu-Gi-Oh video we do. Neither of us are competitive, and if that bothers you, that's more of a you problem. Like, I'd like to think we can still have fun being casual about this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my next archetype.
Go right ahead.
All right. I don't know if this fits into a specific archetype, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Trains.
Okay, is this like the one that has the face on the train and stuff? I think I know what you're talking about. If it
I
is.
don't think you do, but I'll just explain anyway. Trains are used by Anna Kaboom and Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal.
Okay, maybe not then.
Okay, so I love we've talked before about how much we love the idea that effects are a lot more powerful at times than like, well, actual attack power and everything. But I love how Anna Kaboom kind of just throws that away because her strongest monster has 5,000 attack points.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about because as a kid, I grew up as a Thomas the Tank Engine fan. So a tiny part of me is always like, I love that trains are just used as these ridiculously strong monsters, for the lack of a better term. Not all of their effects are incredible. Some of their effects actually can be useful, while most of them are just standard. But I love to think that this like 10-year-old girl is using these ridiculously strong monsters she can summon whenever she wants, and basically able to blast through and destroy everybody.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I didn't know that there was a full train deck. I just thought of like a handful of cards. I think there's Steamroid and then um there's two different train monsters that have some special effects that I know of. But other than that, I didn't know there were more than that.
Steamroid, that's what it was. Yeah, we're thinking of different things. But at the same time, though, I don't know. When you play Duel Links with these cards enough, you start to actually find a way. Even with some of their drawbacks, you kind of got to go like, oh, wait, I actually think this could work to my advantage. I don't know. It's just a really cool concept. Plus, even though I haven't started Zexal yet, I think Anna Kaboom might actually be my favorite character.
Well, with a name like Anna Kaboom, it might just be everybody's favorite character.
Yeah. Yeah, she has a cannon that she rides and it blasts through buildings and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I really hope your insurance covers Anna Kaboom because there's no other way I would sign up otherwise, because otherwise you're just losing money.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah. But trains featured by, from everything I know, best girl Anna Kaboom.
Interesting deck. I need to actually look this up after this video.
Yeah,
All right. So my next one.
sure.
So this is one that when we played a few times in school that I did my best with the cards that you brought to build the elemental heroes.
Okay.
I just these have got one of those things that they've got so many different combinations now because I know you can use them for the elemental heroes, the Neos deck, the uh, Dark Heroes deck, the Destiny Heroes deck. Just so many different versions of these same exact cards exist, but you can have like almost endless combinations. It feels like to actually get monsters out, and they just were always fun to me because it was the first protagonist to have a theme deck that was fully based on one thing, which was Jaden with the elemental heroes, and then later the Neos deck.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I just especially like how there's nothing subtle about it. They're superheroes. And as cheesy as that can be as for your main character, I don't know. For Jaden was always able to make it work for some reason. I don't know. You really felt like the elemental hero deck was made specifically for him in mind. Like nobody else could have this deck.
Yeah, and then when you get Aster in in season 2 with the Destiny heroes, it's an interesting change because it pretty much makes the same heroes but darker and changes their abilities slightly for when you use them in different combinations. So it's just an interesting way that you can just slightly differentiate the decks.
Yeah. It's especially cool considering the Destiny heroes weren't bad guys. It's kind of like the elemental heroes are the superhero cartoons from the 80s and 90s, while Destiny heroes are superheroes from like the 2010s. One is light and one is dark, but neither are bad guys inherently.
Exactly. It's just how they're framed is how it kind of changes. And then I think Jaden uses the Dark Heroes in later seasons, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he uses the evil heroes when he's the Supreme King, but I don't really follow those as much.
Yeah, but I think they still use the same base of like
Just about,
Avion,
just about,
so,
yeah,
yeah.
just about.
And I do love that. I think it's the only card that isn't banned that you can't summon is in the Elemental Hero, and it's uh, Elemental Hero Neo Bubble Man. Because the
Oh.
card you need to summon him, you can't legally play, so you can't summon him.
All right, Metamorphosis. Well, to be fair, by the time we're done recording, they'll probably update the ban list, so your take could probably already be outdated. But I do understand what you mean.
Yeah, I think it's the only one that you can't summon that's actually not a banned card.
Yeah, I will say though, to take away a little bit, when they start adding stuff like, oh, all you have to do is fuse 3 elemental heroes for this one monster. I'm like, okay, that's not. I miss the days when it was, oh, Avion and Burstinatrix or Bubble Man and Burstinatrix. Now it's just, oh, fuse 3 elemental heroes. I'm like, well, that's gonna be easy.
Yeah, it's not when it was more of specific, and the theme of the cards actually made sense when that happened. Now these select random ones, it's not as fun to me. I like the idea of specific monsters.
Yeah. Then again, I'm a Gladiator Beast fan, so I can't fully talk on that. But we have less fusion monsters to go through than elemental heroes, so I give it a pass.
Yeah, I don't know all of like the new ones because I know it got support a couple years ago,
Like
but
more like every other year.
yeah, true.
All right. But I can co-sign. I do still love the elemental heroes all these years later.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. All right, so your next one.
Abyss actors.
Okay.
All right. As a child of theater, like I loved to act, but I just love that these cards are like fiendish looking monsters who should scare you, but they're more showmen at heart and show women, I guess. I don't know. Oh, they're one of the first decks that really made me understand pendulum summoning. And the fact that Silvio takes so much pride in them to some extent. And in Arc 5, I don't know. Oh, I just really grew to love these cards just for how unique they are. Because you have Mellow Madonna, Superstar, Evil Heal. Well, you have all of these different types of actors, and it all kind of feels like they're doing a show together because you have Curtain Raiser who starts the show, leading lady. It just has a good variety of different stuff that goes on during like actual plays and shows. It feels like they really did their research on this one, and I don't know. I always have fun using them, and admittedly, when I play with them using Silvio and Duel Links, I do kind of start to get into character.
Interesting. I haven't really seen much. I know I've seen the first like 2 episodes of Arc 5 when it first came out, and I Sylvia's not the main character, right? He
He's
uses
not. He's not. And even if he was, he doesn't use these cards until later in the series, from what I've heard.
okay. He uses, I think, Performer Pals in the Odd Eyes, I believe is his
That's
combination.
Yuya, the main character.
Okay. So yeah, I can, because I remember seeing them on Duel Links, I think when they came out or when Arc 5 premiered, so I could when I was just unlocking the game. So it's an interesting deck. I haven't really given Pendulum Summoning too much of a shot. So
Yeah. I just think they're a really fun group of cards to use, and you can real I don't know, it just feels like the person using these cards would have a lot of fun using them, and even the opponent might get a kick out of them. The only downside would be you would have to duel Silvio, and Silvio's not I love him, but Silvio's not everybody's favorite.
hmm, I'll have to look him up. And as I said, I need to give more of the Yu-Gi-Oh series a shot. I've watched a handful more episodes of 5Ds recently, so
Yeah, and when he shows up in Duel Links, he's like, "Everybody, Silvio's here." Nobody says anything. He's like, "What? Like that won't do. Where's the thunderous applause I expected?" Just like, oh my god, I love this guy.
all right. I'll co-sign. I'll need to give Pendulum Summoning, and because I think I know how to do most summoning. Link Summoning is still a little confusing to me, but I know it for a little bit better, I think, than
Yeah.
Pendulum.
Anyways, honorable mentions time.
Honorable mentions time.
Please go ahead.
All right. So my first honorable mention is one I've never really played with, but I was looking up different series and cards, and this one seemed really interesting to me, and I would love to actually give it a shot. The UA cards. I believe they're Ultra Athlete or something it stands for,
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes.
but they're based on just all sorts of sports. There's one that's a football player, there's one that's a basketball player. They just seem really interesting. I put them as an honorable mention because I don't really know anything about them, but they were just one of those that I found kind of cool looking to look at. They just look like big robots almost playing sports, which is just kind of a cool concept for a deck, even though I've never even touched them, so I don't know what even their summoning styles are.
Well, when you watch football on Fox Sports, you remember Cletus, the giant robot. Like they're all related.
Yeah, I mean that's what their football playing one looks like is uh this mascot for Fox.
Yeah. In all honesty, though, I have not tried these either. I've always been a little bit curious, but at the same, but I don't know. Oh, it works for an honorable mention because I don't think I would ever use it as my main deck, but I do still think I could maybe try this at some point.
Exactly, that's what I put it on here at this point.
Yeah. But unfortunately, has to be one of the shorter ones because I don't have much more to say after that.
Yeah, no, I'm perfectly fine with that. As I said, I only found them by looking through like different archetypes that had been popular over the last like decade, and it just had them pop up as said these were popular at one point.
Yeah. I'm glad you have an archetype that you've never used that you think you might like because I have one too, and while yours might seem absurd to some people, I can't imagine this one being much any more normal than what you've done.
Okay.
The Gunkin archetype.
Okay.
They're boats that attack and they're sushi boats.
Okay.
Yeah, I would Because before we do these lists, I generally just try to look up stuff. Like, oh, if we ever do a sequel, what are we gonna do? It's like, oh, there's a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype based on sushi ships. Oh, what? I sat there for about 5 minutes researching it, and they don't even. It's not even. They don't seem to have enough cards that you could make a full deck out of. But at the same time, I always just found it so fascinating that you could just, while all these people have these badass, scary monsters, you just show up with sushi and mop the floor with everybody. I don't know who uses them. I don't know if they're even in the anime. I don't know their primary effects. But to me, they're just it was too weird not to talk about.
Yeah, I have no clue off the top of my head, but it's one of those decks that I mean, kind of like the hot sauce deck and all that we I think we talked about last time.
Yeah.
It sounds interesting that yeah, I don't know. It's one that I would be willing to at least look at the cards and probably have a good laugh before moving on to play something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're fire aqua monsters. So the type is aqua and the attribute is fire. So that's kind of an interesting combination.
It really is.
Yeah, but that's it.
Huh.
It's just sushi ships and yeah, I got nothing. And apparently their defense points are based on their prices.
Okay. I got text me the actual name of like this archetype. I want to look it up after this video.
With pleasure.
All right. So my next honorable mention.
Please go ahead.
So this is one that I really actually kind of enjoyed the few episodes we got in the GX series with them, and it's the Dark Scorpions.
Sure.
I don't know why I really enjoyed those episodes, but just this whole idea of a like bandit gang set of cards that they're like perfect for a villain, which I think it's Don Zalug is the main leader of the Scorpions, and
yeah, and he
is the
does a
bad guy.
killer. He does a killer or Christopher Walken impersonation for some reason.
Yeah, it's fun, but I had a handful of these cards as a kid. I don't know if I have any of them right now, but they're just kind of a cool, unique archetype that I don't know if it ever got any sort of support. I don't think it did because they already are. They're just a bandit gang and used as a one-off for a villain of the week kind of story. So
And I'm going to summon the one and only Don Zalug, one and only because it's me. And he just walks onto the duel field. I'm like, wait, what the hell? Monsters can summon themselves?
apparently, because that's what he did.
I still love that one who's like, hey, I'm Chick the Yellow. I'm 6 feet. When I jump up, and I'm like, oh my. Poor kids was having too much fun when they did GX, I swear.
Yeah, if only they had finished or someone else had actually gone back and finished the series.
I don't know how much you can talk. They finished more of GX than you have so far, so I don't know how much ground you have.
Yeah, but I just don't know how much I want to finish a series that never actually finished. That's probably most of my problem with it.
I mean, season 4 exists.
But I don't want to watch it subbed. Just don't have the time to watch stuff and have to read.
Amateur, but I can co-sign the Dark Scorpions were pretty fun.
Yeah, and as I said, this was one that I never owned the full set, but I owned bits and pieces of it. So just fun cards to look at.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right, your next honorable mention.
All right, Scrap Monsters.
This is based on Yusei, right?
No, it is not. You'd be forgiven for thinking that because
his are junk.
Very good.
Okay.
But Scrap Monsters, as far as I know, it's only used by Toru in one of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's games. And his deck, and I know, they created an archetype for a character in a video game. I kind of still wish they would do that. But regardless, Scrap Monsters are machine monsters with pretty unique effects, but the downside is usually it's scrap. It falls apart. They usually destroy themselves at the end of the turn, so you always have to be kind of careful about how you use these. At the same time, though, it's a deck type that you're probably never going to master at first, but it's always a deck that I want to go back and like look at because you get some pretty powerful dragons and machinery. I don't know. It was always something super cool, especially because you have to test yourself. Because yeah, they'll destroy themselves at some point.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, depending on like the power and like the different effects that you can get, I could definitely see this being having some really powerful effects, but then having the weakness of once the effect or the turn's over, it destroys itself and you are now left defenseless unless you've used some sort of ability that it had that allows it to negate attacks or summon other monsters or something. That it seems like a really interesting combination.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, well, it was never the most difficult deck to go up against in the games, but I do feel like it's one of those decks where while not the strongest, it is one of the trickier decks to figure out. And sometimes being tricky is better than being good.
Yeah, I know that there are several because just how complicated cards are now. It's interesting because you play a card, but you have like four different effects that all require specific little things to have happened.
Yeah. But like I said, scrap monsters. As long as you know how to use them, they can be pretty fun.
All right. So, uh, my next honorable mention.
Sure.
All right. So this is the other half of Pegasus's deck that I really enjoyed, and that's the relinquished cards.
Oh dear God.
They just they actually were really freaky to me when I was watching the series back when it was first premiering. But it was still such an interesting concept of this monster absorbs your opponent's monster, and that becomes its attack and defense. Otherwise, it's zero. And just all these little things about these cards were just so weird. I know it's gotten a lot more versions of the same monster, pretty much, based on how you fuse it. And you still have the Thousand Eyes restrict, different versions of the same card, but having different abilities, from my understanding. I'm really interested to go back and learn a bit more about these cards now that they're out.
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit, but I do find myself agreeing, but I will say though I hated playing against these cards growing up because I'm like, I don't know how to win. I genuinely don't know how to win.
Yeah, you got to figure out the whole right balance and stuff. And I mean, now they're not that overpowered because I think they've got easy ways of disabling your monsters or destroying them with card effects that we didn't have when we were first playing these cards.
Yeah, or just summon a bunch of Karibos and have Relinquished absorb them because yeah, you can do that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's probably better than standing on the turret of a tower and threatening to kill yourself if you don't win the duel.
Mm, sure. You know, all my complaints about Battle City, I definitely prefer it to Duelist Kingdom.
Well, they had more fixed rule set once they got to Battle City. Still not fully there, but at least it was more of a rule set than they had in the original.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, I can co-sign on to that.
All right, your next honorable mention.
All right, we had a lot of honorable mentions, so I'm kind of deciding which one I want to go with. But I'm gonna go with Tech Genus.
Okay,
All right, these are monsters used by Bruno or Antimony in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and they're these futuristic looking monsters, which obviously Bruno got from the future. And while they're not that powerful on their own, they just seem like upgraded versions of like different types of, not necessarily upgraded versions of real monsters, but upgraded versions of just of monsters beforehand. And it's especially cool because they can synchro summon, but those synchro monsters can be synchro summoned into something else. And it's kind of just a way of showing like even if you get stronger, there's still a way of getting stronger after that. And while it can be a hassle, it is always cool to finally pull off, hey, I'm able to excel synchro or whatever the term is called.
interesting. So they're supposedly like the next generation of synchro monsters is pretty much what they are.
Exactly.
Okay, I said I'm watched more episodes, but I'm still in that middle of that tournament that kind of starts the series.
Yeah. Overall, I feel like we could have gotten a little more from these cards, but at the same time, for what we got, I still managed to enjoy them, even if for the longest time I could not figure out what the hell was going on.
They sound interesting, at least. As I said, I need to catch up on a lot of these series.
Okay.
All right. So you just want to do the last ones and we'll save everything else for a possible third episode?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So this one's maybe a little bit of a cop out, but I've actually been playing with this deck in Duel Links for a little while now, and at first I was able to do pretty well with it, and it's the Blue Eyes White Dragon deck.
That is a cop-out answer.
But I have a lot of fun with it because of how much support and how you can get different monsters out, and it helped me learn how to truly synchro summon and all of that because I built this after I think it's Azure Dragon with the Eyes of Blue or something, or I don't know. It's
I know what card you're talking about.
Yeah. So I used that to start learning how to actually synchro summon, and it's taught me a couple different things. So that's why I put it on this list. I like that it got the like I've got like 5 different ways of getting Blue Eyes White Dragon either to my hand or onto the field through the different stone monsters. It'd be interesting to go back and actually see Kaiba build a full Blue Eyes White Dragon deck using these cards, and actually use like the Maiden with the Eyes of Blue and just all the different cards that now exist to support these cards that he didn't have because all he had was 3 Blue Eyes Ultimate, and Flute of Summoning Dragon, it seemed like.
Yeah, this is very similar to the Dark Magician archetype in the sense of when you play Yu-Gi-Oh enough, you start to realize these decks get a little too much to work with.
Yeah, I mean, they're not by any means. I know Blue Eyes did win a tournament a couple years ago, but other than that, I don't think they've remained competitive. They don't have the same hand trap strength, I think, as some of the like current decks.
Almost everybody in Duel Links I've played against has a Blue Eyes deck, so I don't know about that.
Well, I meant in like the current TCG or whatever it's called that they play in the real world, and because in Duel Links it's definitely got more cards, more support than most everything else, I think.
Yeah, it's basically Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, and maybe a couple of others. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably go back and play for Hire.
No,
We so much loved that deck last time.
no.
I think that's our number 1 most hated deck between both of us.
Ooh, it might be, but if we were to do a list, I could come up with several others.
Yeah, I've got some that I don't necessarily care for too much. That could be a fun video.
But in terms of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, I can only halfway co-sign because part of me loves this deck, but part of me also does still hate it.
No, I can understand that. I just put this because of the fact that it has taught me how to do different. It's what taught me how to actually synchro summon and do it correctly.
Yeah, I guess I can understand that.
So now if only they had a pendulum monster, but that might make it too much.
No more Blue Eyes support for a while until you give all the other archetypes who need something some love. Coming from the guy who hates Gen 1 starters nowadays in Pokemon, that's a hypocritical statement, and you are fickle.
Yeah, but I paid more attention to Pokemon over that same time than I have with Yu-Gi-Oh, so
every Blue Eyes support means 1 less year of Feraligatr getting Mega Evolution, so just remember that.
Okay, then maybe I will take a step back because I want that more.
Sure, but you already said it. They're already taking note. But anyways, my last favorite archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Go right ahead.
All right, fossil monsters.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of disappointed this didn't make my last list, but I'm sorry. I love Gladiator Beast too much, and that was my number 1. But I just love how these cards came from Jim Cook and, well, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And I love how he was so focused on using monsters out of other people's graveyards. That was always such an interesting idea to me. And just the fact that the stronger, and the fact that it's not just simply, oh, fuse whatever monsters you want. It's you can fuse the stronger the monsters in the graveyard, the stronger the monster you can summon. And just the idea that you can evolve those monsters, you can use some of those cards to even send powerful cards of your opponents to the graveyard. Like if you had a Blue Eyes in your hand, I could be like, okay, I'm going to play this card and I can guess what's in your hand. And if I can guess what's in your hand, you have to send it to the graveyard. All right. And it's just a really cool way of getting rid of your opponent's strongest monsters, but at the same time, hey, your monsters are getting stronger too, just based on how you do it. And it took years for these cards to get released to the point where when they finally did, I had to jump on it, but I couldn't find them anywhere.
They sound interesting because yeah, I can't think of another one that really uses your opponent's graveyard to get fusion material. I know of some that you use their graveyard to get your own monsters out, but not as a fusion material. That's an interesting combination.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun because as I especially considering Jim was super smart and knew about dinosaurs and archaeology, and the fact that he was actually able to explain, yeah, once this monster goes from this era to that era, it gets significantly stronger.
Interesting. Yeah, this is one I've watched a few episodes from season 3 through like usually it's scenes that pop up on YouTube. So I've seen a handful of like his cards appear when he's in his duels in season 3, but other than that, I haven't really seen much of this deck.
It's especially interesting because in the manga, in the manga and the anime, he has a crocodile on his back named Shirley, and in the manga he uses a reptile deck. But I don't know, I prefer his fossil deck because it's just so much more unique and interesting.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. There's a handful of characters. I mean, you got the Dino decks and all that, but a reptile deck just feels like there's not enough cards there to really support anything.
Yeah. There was one card in that deck that was extremely powerful, but like I said, the fusion, the idea of taking your opponent's best monsters and arguably finding a way of using it against them, just the dinosaur lover in me as a kid and the fossil lover in me as a kid always just found that really interesting and compelling. Plus, like I said, it just helps that Jim is just a character that I don't think I've ever found somebody who doesn't like Jim. If you don't, then that says more about you than it does about him. I bet your dog would love Jim.
Yeah, she probably would. She likes most people.
Yeah, but like I said, the fossil deck, probably one of my favorite archetypes.
All right, that sounds like a lot of fun. I need to take a look at a lot of the decks you mentioned because I'm actually pleasantly surprised we didn't have any overlap.
Yeah, you had ancient gear, but I had way too many. So I'm just like, that was a backup choice, so it didn't matter.
All right, yeah, and I've got plenty more that I was like halfway through a second list of stuff that I was considering.
Yeah. Plus, it also helps that I'm like, oh, Zexal, R5. Some of these decks actually sound kind of cool. Maybe I should watch these series at some point.
Yeah, I need to catch up on the series that we at least both know somewhat about, and then I don't know. I may eventually give those a shot, but I need a lot of time to catch up on all of these series.
Yeah. But anyways, are we ready to close out?
I believe we are.
Alright, so ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some of your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks and archetypes? If we didn't say some ones that you expected us to, go back and watch the first one. Maybe we talk about it there, but just let us know what you think.
Yeah, and do you agree or disagree with some of our picks? I mean, I know we've got a lot of cards. Alex mentioned that his are a little bit controversial, and I copped out on my last one, but I really do enjoy the Blue Eyes cards. So
I can't wait till we duel and you're using your Blue Eyes cards, and I'm like, Sushi, go.
That might be possible. Who knows?
Yeah. But anyways, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Enjoy your holidays while being good to each other. Be good to yourselves, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.